Hello and welcome back to Wake Up with Dr. Cheryl. I'd like to start with a joke. Money frees you from doing things you dislike. Since I dislike doing nearly everything, money is handy. That was by Groucho Marx. Wake up, wake up, wake up to your unconditional love and internal and external wealth. I talk about unconditional love and how ultimately important it is in every episode and for every one of us to have a healthy relationship with ourselves and everyone in our life. In more of my research, I'd like to focus in on our relationship with money, and I'd like to share these extremely important messages to assist you with continuing your healing around money and wealth. The reference I'm using is from Psychology Today. I am not afraid to talk about this, especially since this is my passion and purpose, and I've had money and I've lost it. I've even been scammed out of thousands of dollars. Money is such an emotionally loaded topic. I'd like to approach it for couples out there. And then this also applies to everyone, and only a few couples discuss this directly. Even more than sex, money is the #1 reason that drives couples apart. For most people, money is never just money, a tool to accomplish some life goals. It is love, power, happiness, security, control, dependency, and interdependence, freedom, and more. Money is so loaded a symbol that to unload it, we must unload it to live in a fully, rationally loving and balanced relationship with money, and this reaches deep into the human psyche. Usually when the button of money is pressed, deeper issues emerge that have long been neglected. As a result, money matters are a perfect vehicle for awareness and growth. Most people relate to money much as they relate to a person. Money is still a taboo topic. However, there are so many seminars and teleseminars out there on how to create money, but not to the core healing from which it comes from. Often the silence is a shield for the fear, shame, guilt, and anxiety people feel about their own ways with money. Many individuals have a troubled relationship with money. When they get into a relationship, then they are polarized around money. An example is a hoarder marries an overspender. The United States is in fact a nation of overspenders. Because of our community breakdown and spiritual alienation, many people feel a core emptiness that they try to fill up with material things. If we're not overspending, we're typically worrying about money or compulsively hoarding it. We grew up in families where no one talks about it. The fact remains that people do not grow up with educational or philosophic conversations about what money is and isn't, what it can and can't do. We don't have realistic sense of family finances. Of course, there are always exceptions. In addition to rational attitudes and beliefs about money that we internalize from our families of origin, we carry our own emotionally charged memories of money and from childhood. Couples are polarized over money and engage in a balancing dance of opposites. I don't want to belabor every example of how couples over or undercompensate for one another. However, by keeping it in the light of humor, it will help take the edge off. There are planners, dreamers, spenders, tightwads, etc. It still gets back to unlearning the bad and unproductive habits you were taught as a child. Forgive, forgive, forgive yourself and those who taught you in the wrong manner. The failure of people to explore new money personalities leads to deep misunderstanding and hurt. Money issues rarely manifest themselves openly in relationships. Instead, couples fight over what money represents. And while money issues can rear their head at any time, there are specific transition periods in the relationships that force them to surface, like tax time, starting a family, buying a house, a big ticket item. In addition to money personalities, there are male-female differences in approaches to money that haunt many relationships. It could be said that some differences reflect men as hunters and women as gatherers. Other pervasive money differences exist between genders. First, men and women have differences of personal boundaries. Because they are both raised largely by women, men have psychologically separate, more rigidly from women because of the sex difference. Women do not have to separate so rigidly and therefore can afford less distinct boundaries. Second, men are raised to see the world as a hierarchy and competitive. There's always a one-up or one-down position, winner or loser. Women see the world as cooperative and democratic. They share. In addition, they are allowed, even encouraged, to be needy and vulnerable, while men are discouraged from such display. The boundary and hierarchy differences between men and women lead to clashes around money decision-making. Men think nothing of going out alone and buying a big screen TV or even a family car or computer, then coming home and saying, "Honey, I have a new car." She says, "Why didn't you consult me? I thought we were a team." And he says, "Are you my mother? Do I have to ask your permission?" Well, in addition, women are still paid 77 cents to a man's dollar for the same job. These events conspire to generally reduce women's confidence. Because of the forced dependency on men to make decisions about money, women generally fear being out on the street with nothing. When men make more money than their spouse, they believe their superior earnings entitle them to greater power in decision-making. By contrast, women who make more money than their mates almost always desire democratic decision-making. Men are trained to believe that money equals power and that the power is the path to respect. However, power and control are not compatible with intimacy. Relationships succeed only when both partners are willing to display their vulnerabilities to each other. It's important for men to know that failing to share power cheats them of the intimacy and love they want. I think I need to repeat this. Failing to share power cheats men of intimacy and the love they want. And the fight goes like this. The man says, "Why do you want separate money? You don't trust me? Are you planning to file for divorce?" The woman says, "Why do you want to merge all of our money? It must be you want to control me." There may be some truth in both positions. Still, experience has led to see a very positive and probably unconscious longing for both views, and it has to do with the challenge of intimacy. Merging, getting connected, and staying connected is more difficult for men. At the first sign of conflict, it's easy for them to withdraw. The experts believe that men's desire to merge the family money is a loving expression of the desire for intimacy and connection. Perhaps it's a safeguard against their withdrawing. The studies show that they come to see that women want separate as a loving expression of their need for autonomy, healthy autonomy. Their biggest challenge in relationships is not losing themselves, it's holding on to their own sense of self. Neither his demand or merge money nor her desire for separate funds is a position taken up against the spouse, although that it is how partners tend to see it. When couples understand this, their new perspective has the power to transform their entire relationship. Money issues are different from other problems in relationships. They're harder to talk about and harder to resolve because of our extensive cultural and early conditioning. The most important thing in couples communication is empathy, or putting yourself in your partner's place. It is always more important to be heard and understood than to have a partner agree with what you say. Breaking habits doesn't happen all at once. It's a slow process. Partners can begin to change their ingrained habits by taking the following steps. Do what doesn't come, and I say doesn't come naturally, once a week. Eventually, you and your partner will have moved enough toward some middle ground that you are not locked into your roles. While practicing a new behavior, write down how it feels in order to monitor your progress. Reward yourself for the new behavior. So please talk about your first experiences and teaching about money with your partner so you can understand where and why you feel and think the way you do with your relationship with money. Either speak about it openly or write it down. After this dialogue, draw on at least 3 voices from your head, your mother, your father, anyone who else influenced you, and who would comment on this that transpired. Finally, consider what God, a higher power, or wisdom, inner wisdom might say. Either money or God or both will help you see the direction you need to move in to achieve money harmony. Here are 8 tips about talking about money. Neither try to negotiate about money before airing your feelings or otherwise. Negotiations will break down. Find a non-stressful time when money is not a loaded issue, like tax season or when the kids are around. Agree on some ground rules. No interrupting each other. No tirades. After one person shares a difficult piece of information, the partner will try to mirror back before responding. This takes practice, and if you're not ready, some of you might be ready to do this. Number 2, take turns showing your childhood messages about money. Share your old hurts, resentments, and fears about money. Mention your concerns and fears about the partner's money style. Then acknowledge what you admire about their methods and what you secretly envy. In reality, positive statements help to make your partners feel safe enough to give up the negative aspects of your behavior. Talk about your goals for the future, short-term and long-term. Share your hopes and your dreams. Consider making a shared budget or a spending plan together by merging the hopes and the goals that you come up with on your list more than once. Set a time to have the next money talk. Aim for weekly conversations in the beginning and then monthly ones. We are very honored to have a wonderful guest this evening, Alex Mandossian. This is the first part of a 2-part discussion with Alex. Alex Mandossian. Since 1993, our next guest, has generated over $348 million in sales and profits for his marketing students, clients, and strategic alliance partners on 5 continents. His battle-tested marketing strategies helped convert his annual income in 2001 into a monthly income by 2003. Many of his colleagues acknowledge him the Warren Buffett of the net because of his unique ability to make money for his students and joint venture partners. He has shared the stage with diverse leaders such as Richard Branson, Harvey Mackay, Donald Trump, Tony Robbins, Robert Kiyosaki, Susie Orman, Mikhail Gorbachev, and the Dalai Lama. His lifetime goal is to become the world's first work-at-home billionaire, not just in net worth, but by creating thousands of other internet marketing millionaires by his 77th birthday. Wow. Welcome, Alex. I'm so glad that you could be here with us tonight and share your wealth of experience and who you are. So welcome.
I can't wait.
So tell us where you're from and a little bit about you so the audience and the viewers can see who you are, you know.
Well, I was born in Hollywood, California, to George and Cheryl Mandossian, and lived in Pasadena most of my life up until high school. And went to parochial high school. We weren't Catholic, but I was Jesuit trained, and that gave me a lot of insight into being a good athlete and being a good student, putting those 2 qualities together. That was a big impact, you know, on my life.
Yeah.
And then I went to college. I went to UC Irvine in Orange County, got a couple degrees, psychology and economics.
Mm.
And
good combination.
Pretty good combination. Sounds good anyway,
yeah,
right?
It does sound good, yeah.
And then I left for New York, and I lived there for about 10 years, and that's where I learned most of my business skills.
Oh, okay. Oh, wow, okay. So, Jesuits, tell me how you were raised. How, you know, for your parents, teachers, etc. You know, how were you raised around money?
Well,
how to deal with it, think about it?
Money really had the most influence on me through my mother, Carol. My dad was an avoider, and my mother was...
Avoider? What does that mean?
He avoided, the bills and...
Oh, okay. This is what I was talking about earlier on my show.
He left it to my mom, and
yeah.
my mom was more the hoarder and just putting it aside. So what ended up happening is I learned, I have a very good relationship with money growing up, because for her it was about kindness and generosity and service and circulation. So I learned at a young age that money that circulates creates a thriving economy. If it gets clogged, we have recession. A body that has blood circulating is healthy. If it gets clogged, it's sick. And same with the natural resources, on Earth. So it's about circulation. We had a 1,200 square foot home, one bathroom out of the kitchen, very odd.
Are you the only child?
Two kids, my sister and I.
Okay.
Just tiny home, Oak Knoll Avenue in Pasadena by Caltech. And I revisited with my son. It was just odd. It looked so small.
Yeah, I bet.
But one thing about my mom and my dad that was very special, because I didn't observe it with our other neighbors, especially our relationship with money as it had an impact on our family.
Yeah.
We were lower middle class, socioeconomically, structured. But
what did your father do?
He was an engineer.
Oh, okay.
And then my mother.
What kind of engineer?
He was a structural engineer. He would create design for parking lots, of all things. And so he was one of the first to create parking lot structures for the malls that were at that time just starting to explode throughout the Southland.
Yes.
So my mother was an educator. I'm a teacher.
Oh, okay. So she's what did she teach?
Third grade.
Oh, okay. It's fun. Yeah.
And what we did at home is we had filet mignon for the family, but when the neighbors came over, they got hamburger. Now, when I went to the neighbors, it was just the opposite. Yeah. We would get
to make it look good.
To make it look good.
Yes.
Yeah.
The Jones thingy.
Yeah. And I don't know if it was about making a good impression or not, but there was never an issue over food and money.
Yeah.
So shelter, food, the core elements of security.
Well, yeah, I mean, in my family too, food, no matter what, we always had good food because that's what nourishes everything.
Yeah. I mean, I couldn't get the Adidas tennis shoes like I always wanted until like my maybe 14th birthday, and then I was celebrating, but...
Did you help pay for them?
No, I didn't.
Oh, okay.
No, I didn't. No, she did it. But I learned to carry over the feed your family filet. Yeah. And so now when I have students, and I teach entrepreneurs how to build businesses online.
Right.
My best clients and students, we call them students, they're the ones who get the most. I spend most of the time on them because they've helped fund, their client interaction and engagement. Whereas a lot of companies focus all on the people who are prospects or suspects. They haven't even come in to the business yet, and they treat strangers and they feed them the filet, and then by the time they're customers, they ignore them. So that's what my mom taught me. It's a big lesson.
That's a huge lesson, and I'm sure that's taken you miles and miles ahead of where you could have been if you didn't have that philosophy.
Well, the interesting thing is prospects don't refer people to your company, but advocates, customers, people who have been with you a while, multi-buyers do. So spending more money and time and effort is feeding filet to the family, and that's a big insight I got, from my own family.
I know my father used to say that charity starts at home, so it's kind of the same, maybe a little different, but the same philosophy. Yeah. It all starts in the home. And, there again, we shouldn't be spending more than we can afford.
Well, it's easier said than done,
Well, when you're in business,
right.
we're always reinvesting in ourselves.
Yeah.
So that's where it is easier said than done, for my own experience.
Exactly.
You're right. So tell me what in your own feeling and interpretation, what spirituality is in respect to money.
I grew up as Armenian Apostolic Christian, kind of like Greek Orthodox, if you're familiar with that.
Yeah.
And very long Mass. like 2 hours in classical Armenian, and we stood up half the time.
Now, meditating, I could do that.
It was a long Sunday.
Yeah.
Now, the funny thing about the Armenian population, my dad was born in Jerusalem.
Oh, wow.
And at that time, it was pre-Israel, you know, the Muslims, the Jews, and the Christians, they would be like one wall apart, and they would be, you know, celebrating their religion.
It's like when I've gone to Istanbul, they have the Christian, the Jewish, and then the Islamic, you know, all in one though.
Exactly.
You know, and
it's more compact, you know.
Yes.
So, but the Armenians congregate, you know, in church, and then everything is around church. The dinner afterwards, and Sunday school, and that, you know, it was the gathering. Now, with money, if you congregate and you get together once a week, that's different than the spirituality of practicing every single day.
Yes.
And so what I was drawn to more is more on the Eastern, you know, spirituality and Eastern religions. Mahayana Buddhism, for example, you know, from Tibet, only because that lineage is all about cause and effect, which I really love, and karma, and that there's no first cause. There's no first cause. There's no initiating thing. It always has been and always will be. And whether you believe in it or not, it's cyclical and has this circulation metaphor that money has. So what I've learned with spirituality is if there's a daily practice, even if it's a 15-minute meditation, if money is always on your mind of using it for the uses of circulation and what it was meant to be used for, you know, service, and then just having it move through you, then it works a lot better versus, you know, once a week.
Yeah, right. So what do you mean by first cause?
First cause, like Big Bang, that's like first cause. And, you know,
I just need more clarification.
The first cause that caused something else, like the first.
Are you saying your thought, or, you know, action?
The seed of anything, like the Big Bang theory. Okay. Okay, that was a first cause, right? Yeah. And many spiritual traditions, many traditions don't believe that there is no first cause, and like where does money come from?
And it's just an energy. It's just an exchange.
That's it. And if you look at a dollar bill, it's a promissory note.
Right.
And so, what is a promise? A promise is an exchange of confidence. So when confidence is high, economy thrives. When confidence is low, economy doesn't grow.
Yes.
And so it's...
And you're a poet.
Well, sometimes, and I don't know it. But what happens is...
Sorry, I couldn't resist.
That was good. The confidence exchange, I think, is what money is. And I've learned, just with my own students, money makes us more of who we really are. So if we're not prepared to handle it, you'll see lottery winners losing it all in 3 years.
In a year or so, that's gone, because they don't. Well, the value and the practical application.
Right. The mindset, the heart set.
Yes, absolutely.
Is not preparing for the hand set.
That's good. That's good. So, so with that being said, and I know that you're following your purpose and your passion. I mean, I've watched you over the last couple years or so. I guess I met you maybe 2.5 years ago or so. And I know that you keep going and you keep appearing and doing things. So, you know, how do you apply that to what you're doing? Because you're living your purpose and passion, aren't you? I mean...
Yeah, I am. I knew at age 4 I would be a teacher. I just knew it. From that moment, and I would be a teacher. And
well, you had a good example from your mother, right?
I did. My dad was a teacher too.
Oh, okay.
In the Armenian community.
Oh, okay.
Not as an engineer, but you know, I come from a lineage of teachers. Yeah. And the funny thing about the Western cultures, they don't have the same level of reverence for teachers as they do in the East.
I know.
I mean, when you go to Asia,
and it's a travesty.
Yeah, well, and like the elderly too, it's the same thing.
Yes, I know.
So
wake up.
The key is to find your teacher. I mean, everyone, and teachers show up in different ways.
Yes.
I mean, it could be a dog, it could be a mountain, it could be a human being.
Yes.
But I think, and it's often said that, you know, a great teacher is even a better student.
Yes.
So my purpose is to teach others how to find their purpose.
Okay.
And that's always been my purpose. And what I focus on are not students. Everyone's a student, but you know, teaching a student is like having a treasure map that leads to a treasure chest full of gold and riches. I mean, once that student learns, the treasure chest opens up, and you know, just look at the treasure inside. My focus is on other teachers.
Yes.
So I love training trainers or teaching teachers because that's like having a treasure map that leads to a treasure chest full of other treasure maps. And so my expertise, my unique ability has been training trainers and teaching teachers how to create their own tribe and their own following and go about their way of finding students.
Yeah, and don't you think though that everybody's a teacher and a student? I mean, everybody is at whatever level or whomever you're dealing with, it can go both ways.
Well, I think when you teach, you're learning simultaneously, right? And
Yes.
I've
we
learned.
Die.
Yeah. Well, I learn more from my kids, you know, than I learn from anybody else. And the humility it takes for a teacher to be a great teacher, a good teacher, you know, they can be cocky and arrogant and still be good. But to be a great one, you know, really requires even some self-deprecation at times to realize how much, you know, you don't know. So that's where the student comes in, right?
Yeah, and that's what I remind myself is I remind myself that the more I think I know, the more I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, especially in certain subjects, there's always something more to learn.
Well, the difference between wisdom and knowledge.
Yes,
so
that's right.
I'm seeking,
The
you know, wisdom.
I'll leave you with this. Never give up on your pursuit of your purpose and passion, and even if you don't know what that is, work with integrity and have a positive attitude wherever you work, and especially with your family and friends. Be grateful for what you have, who you are, and be grateful for your freedom, and eat healthy. Good nutrition feeds the mind and your body temple, and don't forget to feed your spirituality with meditation and prayer. With unconditional love, and firstly, love yourself unconditionally, and share your abundance and wealth with others. Thanks for watching, and please support Marin TV that brings you these messages. Bye for now, until the next time.